Localization is perhaps the most surprising and least thought of, but most impactful aspect of a successful online offering. The most successful and highest enrolled programs at traditional colleges and universities got that way by playing in to the data of localization. And here's what I mean by that. Nearly 80% of all online students in the US are enrolled at an institution that is within 100 miles of where they are living. Half of them are just 25 miles away. Again, think back to the data at the very beginning. Folks are actively bypassing campus by their own choice, not because there is no campus anywhere near them. In fact, most would prefer to have at least some campus visit or some live opportunity spread throughout the year. So that's a common thread right there, which is why we say offer a hybrid approach. But at the end of the day, folks are bypassing campus while still being and wanting to be very close to campus. All of the data that we have looked at, the efforts that we have run for folks, I chose Purdue because they're in our own backyard, not for any specific reason, but all of the efforts and all of the studies that have been done, not just StatWax, but the Learning House, EAB, all of them, if you look at them, will say the same thing. The best enrollment for online programs is going to come from within 150 miles of your physical campus location. Everything outside of that is a massive fall off in terms of diminishing returns. If you're going to use marketing dollars, highly suggested to maximize impact as much as possible in a 150-mile radius, which, as you can see on the map, is still a pretty good chunk. If we expanded this by another 20 or so miles, we're suddenly incorporating 4, almost 5 major metro areas. So we're not talking just one neighborhood here. It's still a good radius, but if you go outside of that 150-mile radius, you are going to be butting up against several other schools who are on the same data as you, getting the majority of enrollment and interest from within that radius. Because again, what is the number one deciding factor? School reputation. What is one of the most desirable aspects? Some live or on-campus opportunities. The further from your campus you go, rapidly and exponentially, the less chance you have of someone choosing your school, even for an online offering, even one that can enroll nationwide. When you start to get really far away, if they're still looking for online offerings and they're not looking for a school within 150 miles of them, chances are it's because they're looking at the big players, Phoenix, WGU, Strayer, etc. You're coming up against hefty competition that has the infrastructure in place. So when you combine all of those factors with the fact that the majority of students are always going to be within 100 miles of the physical campus, your best bet is to take your marketing dollars and ensure maximum impression share, maximum share of voice within that radius before really stepping broadly outside of it. Most online students are still visiting campus once per year. And here is the trend. Now, this was in 2018. This is not a StatWax study, and I really hoped to find updated numbers, but the most recent that I trusted I found was 2018 versus 2017. In that 1 year, there was a 10% jump in the number of online students who were in programs that brought them to campus at least sometimes. Synchronous learning, basically. Asynchronous, totally online. No in-person, no live elements. Synchronous, with some live on-ground elements, has actually been growing in popularity. It's very hard to offer a fully online course beginning to end. It's even harder for students to find success in it all of the time. That's asking a lot of someone who the data suggests on average is juggling a child, a job, oftentimes both, inflexible schedules. Having them sit completely isolated beginning to end in an offering and complete it successfully is very difficult. Bringing them on campus, and the reason they want to come to campus at least once per year, there is there are advisors There is a safety net there. There are groups there. They can get a little bit of that feeling and help motivate them along. It's why over time online students come to appreciate the opportunity to visit campus some. And it's why over time it has become this self-fulfilling prophecy that most are going to end up in an online course where it's very easy for them to still access the campus the one or two times they actually need to. So what can you do to play into this? We already talked about the marketing dollars. Own the area. Treat your online offerings as if you were still building a relationship as an on-ground campus, because in essence, you are. If you build connections with local employers, first of all, there's always opportunity. They're going to send students your way to level up their skills and help them in their own business while they're still working. But also, you can figure out what job opportunities and workforce opportunities are there in your area. You can play that up when you advertise your programs. Focus on programs that have local impact. Programs that you know are going to be in demand in your area when that prospect graduates, because then you can talk up job placement. You can talk up work opportunities. It's not as though you're offering a nursing program in a metro area that had no hospitals or doctor's offices, right? You don't want to have someone investigating a program when in all likelihood they live very close by and there's no job opportunity for them when they come out of that. That's not going to end well a couple of semesters in. All of a sudden you're going to start to get that fall off. Choose to focus on programs that have that local aspect, because your students are going to predominantly be local individuals. Now, there are challenges to all of this. We've talked a lot about what are the common threads behind successful online and successful enrollment. There's some common challenges as well. Number one, that traditional learner, the younger generation coming right out of high school or not the adult, they bring their own challenges. Primarily, they're the biggest ones who don't want fully online classes. It sounds weird to say because we spent so long talking about they've grown up with mobile, they've grown up with internet, but still, on the whole, they need a little bit of that on campus or that live safety net. These are Gen Z, I guess is what we're calling them now. Alpha is still too young. So let's say Gen Z. On the whole, they have very short attention spans. They've grown up with social networking, with a lot of group interaction, mobile texting, things like that. They've always been connected to people. Fully online eliminates some of that, or they at least think it does. If you can offer up to them the fact that, yes, you take this fully online, but once a week, you're doing it together on a Zoom call where you can chat and see each other, that's different than saying, this is totally self-paced. It's just you and a professor and you email everything in. That's what I mean by fully online. You need to offer some sort of live interaction, whether it's on campus or just live in person virtually. The best way to do this, to step into it if you're new to the online offering, start to bake online courses into your normal degree offering. Don't try and enroll in something that's 90% online, 10% in person. Go the opposite way to test the waters a little bit so you can get feedback about your online infrastructure and your online offering. Let folks in your on-grounds programs get a taste of online in the first couple of years or first couple of semesters and figure out what they liked about it, what they didn't, what curriculum is still missing, and expand from there. They'll be much more likely to get involved with it from there and give you good feedback at that point, and you won't have to put the full might of online development behind an entire program right off the bat to do so. Dual enrollment or dual credit while they're still in high school is another great way to test the waters. Let high school seniors take an online course from you while they're still in high school. Get that feedback and let them get a taste of what online at your school means and how it works, and they'll be much more apt to continue on moving forward. Same with summer course offerings. This generation, this type of learner wants a hybrid offering because they still want that human interaction a little bit. If they know it's not possible for them to be on campus right now anyway because they're in high school or it's summer, what better time to offer up something that's fully online so that they can have a taste and make it a little bit easier to transition in when the time comes. There are also challenges with the adult segment. These are a little easier to understand. mostly because we're all adults. We've lived our lives, we've been there. Work schedule difficulties, family responsibilities. I have had a hell of a time just in 3 weeks adapting to working from home because I have a toddler who runs amok all day long and doesn't know why he must be kept indoors. I have a work schedule. I have things that are due. We still have to go to the store safely and provide groceries and things. These types of responsibilities for your non-traditional learner dominate. So they do not historically, even across the most successful online programs, perform well. They have to have certain other measures in place. If you want successful retention and graduation of non-traditional learners in an online offering, you need to really beef up support systems, face-to-face advising a couple times a year to keep them on track during all of life's many obstacles that are going to get thrown at them. Much more flexibility in when they take courses, when they log in for things, when your classes start. Accelerated completion we've already talked about, but exploring unique ways to offer financial aid, especially as we move forward in this post-COVID job market. These are things your high school senior isn't thinking or caring about, but your adult learner, which is your biggest area of untapped potential, very much at risk of not succeeding if these things aren't addressed and these support systems aren't provided. We see it time and again with schools who bring in huge cohorts of adult learners, but expect them to fully pace themselves. We talked about stopouts, the 36 million who went to college and for whatever reason didn't finish. If being on campus at a college years ago, for whatever reason, didn't work out, we would be foolish to think that a decade later, with everything that life now throws at us, taking that same person and dropping them into something that's totally self-paced with no support system would suddenly work out for them. It won't on average. So they need that extra support, that extra advisement, and that extra flexibility. And then when we talk about a challenge to prepare for, if you're going to go big, you have to prepare for the competitive market. 20% of online students in the US are at 10 institutions only. And we could probably name all of them. I won't name all of them, but these I'm sure look familiar. If you're going to go big, you need to really understand that your success is still going to come with strong local ties. You need to still skew your marketing in a tight radius. And then if you're going to compete with those bigger schools, the data says 10 to 20 fully online programs with some on-ground infrastructure to help the support and help the reputation are the best ways to do it. But you really don't want to go big until you have a dozen plus programs to offer. If you're stepping into it with one niche online offering, do not extend your marketing dollars nationwide and try and compete with some of these big players who have the marketing money, who have the reputation, who have the teaching infrastructure in place. You really want to start with niche programs, localization, and then lean on hybrid offerings and grow from there.